Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Penalty Loop Podcast, a podcast about biathlon by Jordan Gottschalk from Penalty Loop and a regular guest, RJ Weiss from Biathlon Analytics.
Hey, RJ, it's a miracle.
Been a while.
We're chatting.
Yeah, I know. Between trips and
we've tried to set this up, I think, 3 or 4 times since we talked to Logan Pletz, and we finally made it work. So.
Yes.
How you been?
I've been good. It's I've been very busy with biathlon work, and in addition to getting ready for camping and work as in my day-to-day job, and
the job you get paid for.
It goes fast, and then why don't you start with telling about your new favorite athlete?
My new favorite athlete?
Yeah. Now that Ingrid Landmark Tandrevold has retired, I thought maybe you can focus on a new athlete.
Ingrid Landmark Markset is this new
for example,
this new Norwegian woman I've heard about, and I think she's gonna be pretty good.
I think so too. She might actually go for the overall.
Might go for the overall in her first season.
Yeah.
It's wedding season is what we're saying.
It is.
So been a handful of weddings in the biathlon family. So Ingrid Landmark Tandrevold got married and is now Ingrid Landmark Markset. And she, I guess her Instagram has not updated because I was just looking at it, but. So that's one, and Lynn Pearson got married, and Tarja Bo got married. So it's the season for weddings.
And I
last
think
year was the baby boom, and this year is the wedding boom.
Yeah, was there a wedding in Switzerland or Germany or something? Because I saw that Niklas Hartvig was also at a wedding party. He could have been in Norway or Sweden as well, but.
I might have missed it.
Yeah, I don't. But it seemed like there was a lot of biathletes at the different wedding parties.
Oh my gosh, it was
the one we mentioned.
It was pretty exciting. I felt like every time I opened up Instagram, which to be fair, I have not been on Instagram very much recently. But I felt like every time I opened it up, there were more wedding pictures that were showing up. So
I know, right?
Yeah. I also saw that Vytautas Strolia, his second baby was born, so that's exciting.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did we miss anybody else?
I'm sure we did.
That's the big stuff.
I can't think of it. Yeah.
This is not wedding or baby related, but I meant to lead off with this because it was so exciting and it came out of the blue the other day. One of the most popular people in biathlon is making their comeback after a little vacation time, a little time away from official biathlon activities. That is Biathlon 23 is coming back. Officially announced return on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, and so that's exciting. I just thought, again, haven't been on Twitter very much either, and just popped in and I saw that video pop up of announcing the return, and I was very excited. It's pretty cool.
It is. Yeah,
I don't know.
It's one of those people that we were
year off and
connected with from day one. Yeah.
As I say, some of the times you take a year off and it can be hard to get back into it. Anyway, Biathlon 23 is back. Yay! So there was a weird thing that just happened there where I got kicked out of, I guess, of the studio, the recording studio. So I don't know what that was all about. So if that all sounds very funny, I apologize.
One other thing that is always pretty prominent in Instagram feeds and that kind of thing is the injuries that biathletes and cross-country skiers get. Apparently, Simon Fourcade had quite a serious accident on a road bike, and I think very recently Endre Strunsheim also got injured with a bike accident, and I'm sure there's been some others. I haven't seen any news on very big ones, but sure here and there some skin will be left on the asphalt when they're roller skiing. And
yeah, you know what the good news is?
From what I... No, go ahead.
The good news is nobody's been bitten by a snake so far this year, so that's good. Because wasn't Johannes was bitten by a snake last year, I think, by this time. So no, we're doing pretty well.
That's true, yeah. But I don't know. Like the Simon Fourcade sounded pretty bad. From what I could understand in the French news, is that he was more like in the mountains and kind of crashed off the road and had needed some emergency attention. Where I think Strunsheim was more in, I think it was in Oslo, where he seemed to have collided with other people. But
oh my gosh.
Talking about colliding, there was some news about the ongoing investigation, I guess, in the credit card situation in the French team. And then apparently some Italian news came out with that there was a verdict and Julia Simon was guilty, and she has denied all that information as being just garbage and not true. But I'm actually surprised that it's even still ongoing. Like it seems seems to me that it's something like you can kind of settle between the two of you, but
yeah. Hey, I didn't even know that was I to be honest, not even been thinking about it. I just assumed at this point that it had been taken care of sort of behind closed doors, and we weren't going to hear any more about it. But oh well.
It could be just the lawyers doing their job and the athletes just doing theirs. But and talking about Julia Simon, you relate to this. Have you ever done a 10-kilometer race where the elevation change is 325 meters?
No, actually, I have not. You may have known, but Florida's relatively flat, so I don't know if I've run an elevation change of 325 meters in the last 3 years combined.
But that sounds like a lot.
Yeah, that sounds.
But it's the Mont Blanc Marathon, where Julia Simon participated in the 10K and got in third, and then Anaëlle Bondu, she participated on the IBU Cup last year and is only 19, and she ran the 23 kilometers in 2 hours and 23 minutes. I don't know what elevation gain they had, but she was actually faster than Emilien Jacquelin, who did it in 2.5 hours.
Wow. Okay.
So another French girl in pretty good shape, I would say. I don't know what her shooting is like, but
it wouldn't shock me if she comes out and is suddenly one of the fast ones, just like so many of those French women.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh man, that actually just makes my lungs hurt. I could just feel my lungs burning.
That'd be fun though. Like that's the one type of running that I think I'd be interested in, is like in the mountains,
straight uphill.
Well, yeah, I've always preferred uphill over downhill because it just hurts my knees and feels unnatural. But I don't know, the Mont Blanc must be a pretty nice area to run in.
That's gotta be pretty anyway.
And I'm going to use it as a little bridge about the article that I've been writing that I spent, let's just say, a little more time on than I was initially planning. It was a lot of fun, but just one of those things where you you want to explore a couple of ideas, and then that leads to another idea and another idea, and then before you know it, you spend 2 weeks on a article. But so I've talked about it before that I wanted to do some research on the shooting of Emilien Jacquelin, and you and I, and probably before that, I've kind of been annoyed sometimes with, he's shooting too fast, and if he would just only shoot a little slower, couldn't he be more successful? And I wanted to kind of check that assumption with the actual data. Now, of course, I'm going to encourage you to read the article and not give anything away, but I dove pretty deep looking at, how fast is he actually in the shooting between prone and standing. I looked at first shot times, final shooting times, same for accuracy, basically looking at every type of shot and shooting, and then first shots as well, and the final shooting times. Then I combined it after that to get an idea of, it's one thing to shoot fast, but then not hit the targets. It's not going to get you anywhere. So I looked a bit at that, both at the shot level, but also at the first shot of a shooting, and again at the final shooting. And that led me into looking into pressure. Obviously, the final shooting, especially when you're kind of in the lead or close to the lead, is going to give you more pressure than the first shooting of a race. And that led me to looking at actual his shooting performance related to the rank that he is in when he enters the shooting range. So, yeah, I don't know. I like doing it. It was, like I said, a lot of work, but I think the results were satisfying in a way. And I reached out to Emilien, and he actually replied to me right away, which was super cool. Fortunately, he did mention that he was going to read it in more detail and get back to me, and he hasn't had a chance to do that yet, but it would be great to
there's a lot to read.
Yeah, it is. When you publish your article and it says this is going to be like a half-hour read, and like, oh my God, it's a little more than I anticipated. But
yeah,
I don't know. Some people that read my work or have listened to this podcast have probably a sense that I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I'm just one of those people that if I'm working on something and another idea gets in my head, which I believe will add value to the article, I can't just be like, I'll do another time, because I know I won't. I either do it when I'm writing it, or so yeah, it's something to read during the off season. And of course, I'd be happy to hear if people have feedback or questions.
Highly recommended. And I'm not just saying that because we do this, and you generously posted it on the penaltyloop.com as well. But I just think it was really fascinating. There are few athletes, I think, few biathletes, I should say, who are as sort of unique in their racing style as Jacquelin. And so I think that actually looking into it more deeply and kind of seeing, does it make sense? Is there a method to the madness, so to speak? I think it was a fascinating project that you undertook, and I can see how it would be one of those projects that just builds and builds and builds, and can almost feel like it can turn to one of those projects that you almost don't like, am I ever going to be done with this? Because there's just so much that you could conceivably do. So, but I was fascinated to read it, and I don't want to. Again, I want to give people a chance to read it, and then I would actually like to revisit it later this summer. Maybe Emilien would like to come on and share his thoughts on his philosophy as well. I think that would be fantastic. Emilien, I know you're a avid listener, so but no, I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Now, I know you have also been working on a
Mm.
project that probably started with the fun idea and then
Yes.
grew and grew and grew.
So my idea
And
originally was, that's exactly what happened. So my idea was that for biathlon fans who are new to the sport, just like a way to catch up, like how we got here, right? How we got to where we are today. Just a quick timeline of when it started and just some key figures in the past, just sort of like as a quick guide of, hey, I'm interested in biathlon. Give me a quick version of the history of the sport. And so I started a timeline, and it's not published yet. I'm still working on it. And mine right now says that it takes 31 minutes to read. So again, it's one of those things that got a little bit out of control. But here's why. Because as you're going through, right, and you want to add in a lot of things like what was military patrol, like the thing that was the origin of the sport of biathlon as we know it. And then how did the World Cup come about? When did the World Championship start? And when did women come in? How did the sport change, over time? So like to where we are today, when did the different events start? Were there any that got retired? As you're doing that, you also run across all these just absolutely crazy stories that I never heard before. And so much so that I started including all of them, and I've actually taken some of them out, and that's what I'm doing now is kind of paring it down, and I'm creating a whole separate piece where it's going to be about stories of that I just ran across, because there's so many in here that some of them I knew, and I just think that they should be stored and cataloged somewhere, and I just want to do that. And some of them I had never ever heard before. So for example, do you know the name Kari Swenson?
No. I'm tempted to say I've heard it, but no, I don't think so.
So she was a United States biathlete back in the mid 80s. And so in 1984, she was a part of the 3-woman U.S. biathlon team, because in those days it was a 3-person relay team instead of 4. So they won bronze in the 1984 World Championships. Wow. And this is even the brief version of this story. That summer, obviously we know biathlon does not pay a lot of money, so she was doing a summer job. She was working at a ranch in Montana, and a couple of survivalists named Don Nichols and Dan Nichols, and I don't know if there are even things such as survivalists in other countries, but these are like true lunatics who think that the world is about to end and they want to be able to survive the doomsday. Anyway, they kidnapped her because they wanted to force her to marry Dan. And so they kidnapped her. And then after several hours, people realized that she was gone. So they went looking for her. In the meantime, they had chained her up to a tree, basically. And so when her friend and another person that worked on the ranch came and looked for her, she heard them coming, so she started to scream to say, hey, there are these people, they've got guns, watch out for them. They turned around and they shot Kari Swenson through her chest and ended up killing one of the people that was looking for her and just ran away and left her there. Several hours later, so it had been almost a day since she had been kidnapped at this point, she was found. She was in so much pain she couldn't move. Her left lung was collapsed. They take her to the hospital and she survives. Thank God she survives. And she ended up coming back and ended up competing again. She started training that fall and competed again in biathlon. Just if that happened today, that would be, headline news.
I still think it's shocking.
Yeah, and this is right, and this is a woman who won a medal in a relay team for U.S. biathlon, which, by the way, don't have a whole lot of medals. Again, it was 1984, a 3-woman relay instead of the 4-woman relay, but still. And I had never heard that story before.
And do you happen to know what happened to Dan and Dawn?
They were arrested in December. And where was it? So Don Nichols was granted parole in 2017 and then died last year. He was 86. Dan Nichols was in prison for 10 years. And then he was released in 1991, and then he was arrested again in 2011 because he was a drug dealer.
Huh.
Yep. That's just one of the stories.
You should have a special section of stories on the podcast.
Yeah, so that's just one. It's again, I had never heard this.
To it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stories like this that I ran across, and now I'm in an effort to just kind of track down more of these stories because I think that they should be out there. I don't know. I would like to know. So she became a vet.
Maybe we should try to talk to Matthias.
I think we should, right? And try to learn some of these things.
Might get you to work all summer then, but
yeah, but I think if we talk to Matthias, like honestly, like we would have to set aside. It would have to be like a Saturday, right? Or like a day where we just had like
at least
like or a weekend, right? And because I just think that before these stories are gone, right before they just like disappear into the mists, we should remember them. And, other stories are more well known that I just think that are really neat, like Bjorn Dahlin winning the sprint in Nagano. Like he ran right because he ran the race and would have won the gold, but then it was snowing too hard, so they canceled the day, and he had to come back the next day and then won gold again. So it's like he basically won gold in the sprint 2 days in a row. Like that's a really cool story, right. And I just and we know it now, but I don't want it to be one of those stories that Ben doesn't know, 20 years ago or 20 years from now, like in the 2040s. Like it's a crazy thing to do, and there are only a handful of people I think that could do that.
Do you have the I forgot her name, a lady who crashed in the warm up and then won a bronze medal with the collapse long or something?
No, I don't have.
That might have been cross country skiing. I'm not sure if that was. It was in the Vancouver Olympics.
I'll have to look it up.
And this lady basically shot off the track in the warm up on a downhill, and there was a section where there was a turn and there was sort of a creek below it, and she just literally crashed into the rocks of the creek.
Oh my gosh!
And I'm pretty sure she had like a collapse lung or like a broken rib or an injury where in quotes a normal person wouldn't even think about going cross-country skiing. But she did, and I'm pretty sure she won the bronze medal. I'll see if I can find that. But again, I don't remember for sure if that was a biathlete or if it was a cross-country skier, but because then in the latter case, she probably wouldn't make it to your list. But
Petra Madic, Majdic, broken ribs, collapsed her lung.
Yeah.
She won bronze. That's
incredible.
Crazy story.
Yeah, kind of.
So anyway, I've got more of those stories too that I'm working on.
Yeah, get on it. Yeah. I want to read them.
I'm working on it. So I think I'll probably go ahead and post the. I'll go ahead and post the timeline probably the end of this week, early next week, once I get a chance to read all the way through it again.
Cool.
And then I will go ahead and work on those stories. And if you guys see anything on the timeline that is wrong, I'm pretty sure it's not, but if you see anything that's wrong, or if there's something you think should be added, let me know. And I will. I also, I put in, like I said, all those major things, like the major changes and like the developments in biathlon. I also, just for reference sake, put in like the starting and ending dates for some of the big names. Like you'll see Bjorn Dahlin, Forsberg is on there, Fourcade, and of course, Johannes. Just to see how they overlapped, when they were, what kind of conditions they raced under. Primarily, I did it because I wanted to put Bjorn Dahlin in there, just to see like, this is when he started and this is what biathlon looked like, and this is what it looked like when he retired, like 800 years later. So anyway, it'll be up. Let me know what you think. I think the only other thing I saw was Amy Becerra finally got her cast off recently from the injury. I'm not even entirely sure what it was, but it looks like she is back to at least partial, if not full training at this point.
I thought did she have surgery? Because I read that she actually started last season with an injury already.
Yeah. Yep. So it might have just been the final, like the surgery on that injury. I'll have to do more research, but I saw that it was off, and I just wanted to. I was excited about that she's back at it. So we covered a lot of things. We did weddings, Biathlon 23, Emilia and Jacqueline, the timeline. What else you got?
Stories, timeline.
Yeah.
And then, hopefully we'll get another one out before the vacation period start.
Another one before that. We have a couple of interviews coming up, which I know we've said a lot recently, but I promise they are coming up. It's just a matter of getting all the dates to line up for us to. We have vacations, and then especially with the athletes who are in and out of training camp.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and hopefully you'll hear from us soon.
Yep, absolutely. Take care.